Netflix is one of the biggest platforms in the world. Like 280 million people pay for it every single month. A market share of 23%, dethroning Hollywood and now producing some of the best content ever made. But what's crazy is this company almost died multiple times. And the only reason it's still here today is because of some decisions that honestly looked insane at the time. So let's talk about that. First, let's just look at how big this thing actually is. In 2026, Netflix is valued at $367 billion, share price over $87,000, classified as a mega cap on the NASDAQ, revenue of $45 billion, growing 17.6% every year. And 54% of that comes from outside the US net income of $11 billion, with almost $10 billion in free cash flow. And they spend around $17 billion every year. Just on shows and movies, $17 billion on content every year. For context, that's more than the GDP of some small countries. That makes them the most powerful streaming platform in the world, surpassing the biggest Hollywood studios. But what's crazy is this company almost died multiple times, and the only reason it's still here today is because of some decisions that honestly looked insane at the time. So let's talk about that. It started in 1997 with a problem. Reed Hastings, the CEO, returned a VHS tape late to Blockbuster and got hit with a $40 late fee. That moment gave him an idea. At the time, Blockbuster was untouchable. Created in 1985 by David Cook, it had over 9,000 stores worldwide, 84,000 employees, and an estimated $6 billion in annual revenue. They made $800 million a year just from late fees alone. But that was also the problem: late fees, long drives, limited stock on popular movies. So Reed Hastings co-founded Netflix with Mark Randolph in August 1997 with a simple idea: rent DVDs by mail. No stores, no late fees. Just pick a movie from a catalog online. They send it to you, you send it back. Think Amazon, but for movies. Simple. And some people loved it. In 2000, Netflix actually approached Blockbuster and offered to sell the company to them. Blockbuster said no. That decision would eventually cost them billions. In 2007, when everyone was still mailing DVDs back and forth, Netflix quietly launched a streaming service on the side. Nobody really cared. The library was tiny, the internet wasn't fast enough, but Hastings knew where things were going. Then, in 2011, he made a decision that almost killed the company. He decided to split Netflix into two separate services, one for DVDs, one for streaming, and he raised the price. Customers were furious. They started canceling in massive numbers. Netflix lost around 800,000 subscribers in just a few months. The stock dropped 77%. 77%. Hastings had to go on camera and apologize. It was a disaster. But instead of going back, he killed the DVD business completely and went all in on streaming. Most people would have reversed course. He didn't. And that bet is why Netflix exists today. Okay, so now they're a streaming company. But they had another problem. The content on the platform wasn't good enough. They were mostly licensing old movies and shows from Hollywood. And Hollywood started realizing, hey, maybe we shouldn't be giving our best stuff to Netflix. So in 2013, Netflix made another crazy bet. They produced their own show, House of Cards, and they spent something like $100 million on it before a single episode aired. At the time, people thought that was insane. But here's the thing. Netflix was losing money, like a lot of money. For years, their free cash flow was negative $3 billion per year. They were spending way more than they were making. So how did they survive? Two ways. First, they kept prices really low on purpose, like $8 or $9 a month. The goal wasn't profit. The goal was growth. Get as many subscribers as possible, as fast as possible. Second, they borrowed billions from investors. People on Wall Street believed the story. That if Netflix got big enough, everything would eventually work out. And it did. By 2020, They crossed 200 million subscribers and finally started making real money. But there was another move that most people overlook: data. Netflix wasn't just collecting subscribers, they were collecting behavior. What you watch when you stop, what you rewatch, what you skip. All of that goes into a system that learns exactly what kind of content keeps you on the platform, and they use that data to decide what shows to make. House of Cards wasn't just a creative bet. It was a data-driven decision. Netflix already knew their audience would love it before they filmed a single scene. That's what makes their content strategy different from traditional Hollywood. They're not guessing, they're calculating, and it worked. Their churn rate, the percentage of people who cancel every month, sits at around 3%. That's extremely low for a subscription business. Then COVID hit, and Netflix exploded. People were stuck at home, and Netflix had Stranger Things, House of Cards, and a library of original content ready to go. Subscriber numbers went through the roof. But then came 2022, and it was rough. The COVID boost was over. Netflix started losing subscribers for the first time in years. The stock crashed. Competitors like Disney Plus, HBO Max, and Amazon Prime were spending billions to catch up. And people started questioning, is the streaming market just saturated? It felt like the beginning of the end. But Netflix made two moves that changed everything. First, they cracked down on password sharing. For years, millions of people were watching Netflix without paying for it. Netflix forced them to either pay or leave. Most of them paid. Second, they launched an ad-supported plan, a cheaper subscription tier funded by advertising. This opened Netflix up to a whole new audience that was price-sensitive but still wanted the content. Two moves, both controversial at the time. Both worked. And that's the real story of Netflix. Not just a tech company that got lucky, a company that made terrifying bets at the worst possible moments and somehow kept winning. The Blockbuster rejection, the streaming pivot, the $100 million content gamble, the password crackdown. Every time it looked like they were finished, they made the call nobody else would make. That's not luck. That's a pattern.